Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Monday morning art talk. Whippy! So before we get started, just want to let you know I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm at the end of aisle 1000, right towards the back. It's the easiest way to find me. If you just put in the H, whatever it is, you never find it. So if you happen to be in San Diego and you're going to Comic-Con, stop on by. I got my brand new little sketchbook that I put together. It was my own little personal sketchbook challenge of just drawing just 310 heads in there just to because I love doing it. And so it's a fun little book, so stop on by. That I'll have that this year, and after Comic-Con I'll have it on my website for people who can't make it, and that'll include free shipping through the website. So I'll place it on my website at silvertunes.com. Just go to the store and you can see it there. What I want to talk about today was just being overwhelmed, and everyone faces it in a sort of different manner, in a different way. Again, we all have different jobs, we all have different roles that we have to fulfill or do, but I just want to talk to you about when I get overwhelmed, and how I sort of break it when I'm getting to that phase. So I can get overwhelmed with projects. When I'm working, when you start to put together your pile of things that you know you need to do, you could be working on a project. If I just let that take over and I'm just realize and I start thinking about the amount of work that I have to do or that's ahead of me, it's the same thing that was when I was on a production. Full time. Say I was at Nickelodeon, I was at Disney, and what happens is you get the script, and then you'll get your outline of just your production needs that you need, your breakdown of all the different characters, and sometimes you're looking and go, oh my God, I got to design 100 characters and I got 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So those moments, oh my God, there's a crowd scene, I have to do this crowd scene, or some other situation or more of a challenging character. And so that becomes overwhelming when you realize that the amount of massive work that has to be done. So I realize sometimes when I'm taking on jobs, if I'm not thinking about what I'm going to share with you, it sort of overtakes me, and then it doesn't make the process as fun, right? Because when you're overwhelmed with something, there's nothing fun about that. So then you start to think about, oh my God, I got to do this, and then I got to do this. So you're not necessarily concentrating. And the way that I find that I have to tell myself is to break out of the overwhelming. If I'm working on a project, here I've been given a script, I've given characters I need to design for a client. And when I have to put myself in the mindset that I'm doing this for me. If I put myself in the mindset that I'm doing it for them, and I have a deadline, and they want this, and it puts on that pressure, I almost cease to have fun doing it. It doesn't become enjoyable until I gotta mentally make that switch in my head and say, this is me. See, it's almost like what I have to do. I say, I'm retired. I'm retired, and I don't know what I want to draw today. Oh, let me just draw this today. So I'm going to draw these characters that I haven't even thought of yet. All of a sudden, I'm reading someone else's script, someone else's concept, idea, and now I'm just using my brain power to try to envision it and try to think about what it actually is and what it's going to look like. But when I do that, thinking like it's my own project and it's my own thing, that's when it doesn't seem so overwhelming anymore. That's when I know that I have my allotted time. I know that I'm putting aside time to work on the development for this client and make sure that I'm giving them what it is that they're seeking and what it is that they want. but I think like I'm retired. Hey, you know, how would I see this? And then it can become a challenge because you end up drawing stuff that you wouldn't usually draw. I know when I draw a lot for my own personal time, not only is it sort of teaching concepts that I'm sort of creating and I'm coming up with, but I'm also just drawing faces and caricature and bodies and sort of sketchbook stuff. So it's not like it's an actual design. It's not like I've been given the task, I got to design this crocodile that's a steampunk crocodile or something like that. Oh, now I wouldn't usually draw that, but now I've been given that challenge to draw that steampunk crocodile, and that's when I'll grab the reference. But again, I have to think like I'm doing this for me and not thinking about the time constraints, and also allowing myself to fail, allowing myself to do horrible drawings in the beginning, which I go through, and I don't know who doesn't go through that. Maybe some people don't, but I do. I go through where the horrible phase, not all the time, I won't say it's all the time, but I'm developing something, I'm working on something, and I'm just going through and I'm trying to warm up. And the drawings just aren't coming, and it's not there. It's almost the learning curve that you have to go through. And eventually you draw it enough, you start to find the voice. Now, even through my development phase, I'm not sharing all my development with my clients because some of it is so crude and so bad. And so it's just it's my throwing up on the page. If you guys have my book, The Silverware, and I talk about throwing up on the paper, and that's what you're kind of doing. You're just throwing up on the paper. You're just getting these ideas out, and sometimes they're meaningless. They don't have any feeling. It's missing something, but it's just that mark led me to something else in that exploration. So I guess what I want to kind of impart on you guys, if you guys ever feel overwhelmed with the projects that you're working on, again, when you're working for someone else, as most of us are doing, we're working for other people, you gotta just think about the fact, just act like you're retired. Just act like you're just showing up at some place, some building, like it's your office, your room, and you're going in and you get to just work on this and you get to draw because you're gonna be drawing anyway. It just so happens that you're working, trying to figure something out that's maybe a little bit more challenging. And even when you're working on your own stuff, you could be working on your own children's book, your own whatever, your own book of any kind, your own story, whatever it is, prints, whatever, it's going to be challenging, and you're going to have a challenge, and you sort of like don't know where it's going to go, how it's going to end up. And I think the reality is, try not to worry about it. I've learned more and more as I get older, my mind just, I get more and more philosophical as I get older every time, and I realize that life is made up of just moments, and that's all life is. It's not, there's no golden ticket, there's no final destination. And the sooner you can truly imagine that and just realize that that's it. My life moment, oh, I'm meeting my aunt for dinner tonight. Oh, that's a life moment. That's this little thing that I'm going to do. Oh, I'm going on this little trip. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go on a hike. I got to go pick up my kids from school. Whatever it is, these different things. On the weekend, I'm going to do this. During the day, I have to do that. That's all it ever is. It's just a series of moments over and over. And so I think the pressure is, if we allow ourselves to just not feel like there's this beacon, this light of some sort, that's it, that's all we're attaining to get to, then we don't become so overwhelmed in the process of life, and we don't get so overwhelmed in the process of doing and acting on the work that we have in front of us. And you have to tell yourself, it's not like it's just gonna just happen. It's not like maybe you're listening to it now, or even myself, as I'm gonna sneeze, but I'll be back. I'm back. So it's not like you just, I kind of lost my train of thought. You know, again, it's just tapping into these moments. Again, there's no just, and if we can embrace those little things at those moments and just try to enjoy that process and tell ourselves as much as possible, reminders. We have to remind ourselves. I write stuff down on my bathroom mirror. Those of you who have studied with me have heard my story. I talk about how I post my my ideas, my vision on my bathroom mirror, because I look at it when I brush my teeth in the morning and when I go to bed at night. So I'm reminded. But I write these things and I change it, and I change my notes for these certain ideas that I get from time to time. But it is a work in progress. It's constantly forming the new habit, and habits are formed through repetition. So again, it's not going to happen for you just one day saying, I'm not going to be overwhelmed today, and I'm just going to pretend I'm retired and work on that. But you got to do that every day. So you got to act on that. And I think that that'll open things up and make the process more fun, because I think that's the important thing, is making the process fun. Now, once you've worked on your process and you're working on the client's needs and you're doing this for them, the difference is when you're working on your own stuff, you got other people who are going to be coming back to you telling you right or wrong, whether they like it, whether they don't like it, change things, do that. That can start to get overwhelming, because sometimes you feel like, oh my God, I feel like I'm done with this. Why do I have to keep moving on? Why do I have to keep doing this? Can't we just be finished? You know, you do get to those phases. But so when you are working with the client, just make sure, number one, that you're happy with the terms that have been outlined on the contract that you have, and just make sure that you've set yourself a reasonable amount, that they're not going to try to have you do more than what's been written in the contract. If they're hiring you to do 3 pages of, you know, development sketches, they're hiring you to do 3 pages of development sketches. If they're hiring you to do 6 characters, you know you're designing 6 characters. I'm getting paid this much per character. I know that I'm going to put in this much time and effort on the character. Make sure there's a revision clause, that they know that you're not beating the characters to death. I think as you get more skilled and more developed and work in this environment more, you don't go through that many revisions all the time. I think sometimes when you're in studio at a place and there's a lot of time, people, again, if you're working with a bad director and they're indecisive, it's horrible, because they can't make up their mind. But most of the time, you're going to be working on projects where you do your best and you show all your work and your thumbnails and your process. Usually what's going to happen, the client's going to end up picking pretty close to one of those. And then they'll say, you know, we really like this direction. Maybe make these little tweaks and stuff, but you sort of get in the ballpark, because they know what to expect from you. They know what you do. Hopefully, they're familiar with your work. But that's another thing, just again, the overwhelming factor. Again, it happens, but try to switch that and say, I'm just doing this for me, and it will start to soothe in the process if you find yourself getting into that mindset a bit. Because I know we get distracted. We're just like, man, I want to work on my own stuff. I got to do my own stuff, and that's what it is. All right? So that's it. And also just wanted to tell you, just my silvertunes.com, I'm doing a 2-day retreat in Santa Cruz. Please check it out. It's gonna be awesome. It's very relaxing. It's drawing, relaxing, doing some meditation. It's a beautiful campus. I was there last year. And if you're interested, check it out and you can research it just a little bit more. And other than that, I'll see you at Comic-Con if you're able to make it. And if not, be sure to go to silvertunes.com and you can pick up my latest sketchbook that I did. All right, so thanks, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.